Chioma's palm connected with his face before rational thought could stop her. The sound cracked through the Seoul fashion gala like thunder. 300 guests froze. Champagne glasses paused midair. Camera flashes died. The entire room held its breath. She didn't care who he was because rage blinded her. A few minutes ago, her ex-boyfriend, Marcus Chin, stood on that stage presenting her collection. Everyone had applauded Marcus and given him credits, but those were Chioma's designs. And this man in the expensive black suit had blocked her path when she tried to storm forward. So she'd struck him hard. The red handprint bloomed across his pale cheek. Chioma waited for security to drag her out. Waited for him to shout. Waited for consequences. Instead, he smiled. Not a friendly smile. A predator's smile. Like he'd been waiting for this exact moment. His dark eyes, cold, calculating, devastating, held something that made her breath catch. Then he did something that made absolutely no sense. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small black velvet box. He opened it with one hand, revealing a ring that caught the chandelier light, platinum, elegant, expensive. Then his voice cut through the silence, quiet, controlled, absolute, marry me. 2 words. No explanation. No romance. Just a command disguised as a question. Hello and welcome to Afro-Korean Romance Stories. This is our 4th video and we'd love to hear from you in the comments. What would you do if you slapped a mafia boss? Like this video and hit the subscribe button for more stories like this one. Chioma's rage burned hotter than her fear. Marcus was still on that stage, bathing in applause meant for her. This stranger offered her something she'd never had, power. Visibility. Vindication. She extended her hand, ignoring its tremor. 6 months. Business only. His handshake was firm, warm, possessive. 6 months. Starting now. What happened next became Seoul legend. Taehyun led Chioma through the crowd, his presence parting people like the Red Sea. He walked straight to the stage, interrupting Marcus mid-sentence. The room fell silent. I'd like to introduce my fiancé, Chioma Nwachukwu, the actual designer of this collection. His voice carried absolute authority. My lawyers will be in touch, Mr. Chen. Enjoy your last day in this industry. Marcus went pale. Camera flashes exploded. Chioma's heart hammered so hard she thought everyone could hear it. Taehyun's hands settled on her waist, possessive, burning through the silk of her Ankara fusion gown. To the crowd, they looked perfect together. Powerful. United. Only Chioma felt how her knees shook. Then he kissed her. In front of 300 witnesses, Taehyun cupped her face with surprising gentleness and claimed her mouth. It was supposed to be performance. It didn't feel like performance. His lips were firm, demanding, and when he pulled back, his eyes held something darker than strategy. Trust me, he murmured against her ear. I'm very good at getting what I want. Across the room, Kim Sarah, his ex-fiancée, looked shattered. Mission accomplished. That night, in Taehyun's penthouse overlooking the Han River, Chioma tried to process what she'd done. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed Seoul's glittering skyline. Minimalist furniture spoke of wealth and control. Everything was black, white, and chrome, except for the blood-red orchids on the dining table. Your room is down the hall, Taehyun said, loosening his tie. We maintain separate spaces. Public appearances only. He handed her a black credit card. For your designs. Build your brand. I'll handle Marcus. Why are you doing this? Chioma demanded. Really? He poured whiskey, expensive, amber, neat. Because you slapped me and didn't flinch. Because you fight for what's yours. Because you're the first person in years who doesn't fear me. He paused. You fear being invisible. I understand that. The truth unsettled her more than any threat could. This dangerous man saw her. Really saw her. 2 weeks later, Chioma held her first pop-up showcase in Gangnam. She'd worked 18-hour days, fueled by spite and borrowed confidence. Her designs, Fusion pieces blending West African attire with Korean hanbok silhouettes, hung like prayers. Would anyone come? Would anyone care? Then Choi Tae-hyun arrived with 12 armed guards. They positioned themselves around the venue, visible, threatening, unmistakable. Silent Dragon Syndicate enforcers in black suits, hands resting near concealed weapons. The message couldn't be clearer: this designer was protected. Untouchable. Fashion insiders who'd ignored Chioma for years suddenly scrambled for meetings. Competitors kept their distance. Buyers wrote orders with trembling hands. Chioma should have felt triumphant. Instead, she felt terrified. Taehyun moved through her showcase like he owned it, which, given the guards, he essentially did. He examined each piece with genuine interest, his refined taste surprising her. Then his phone rang. He answered in Mandarin, his voice dropping to that deadly quiet tone she was learning to recognize. She caught words: containers, Busan problem, eliminate the witnesses. He was ordering someone's death while praising her asymmetrical jacket design. The compartmentalization made her blood run cold. Who was this man? What had she agreed to? After the showcase, in the back of his armored Mercedes, Chioma confronted him. What do you actually do? Taehyun didn't lie. Didn't soften it. I move things people aren't supposed to move. Weapons. Pharmaceuticals. Information. I protect my territory through fear and follow-through. And I eliminate problems before they become catastrophes. His eyes met hers. Does that frighten you? Yes, she admitted. Good. Fear keeps you careful. But know this, I'll never let that world touch you. It was a promise and a prison sentence in one breath. The next day, Chioma forgot fabric samples at one of Taehyun's offices, a warehouse in Incheon. She went to retrieve them, expecting a boring corporate space. Instead, she walked into hell. Shipping containers lined the massive space. Men in tactical gear moved with military precision. Weapons, so many weapons, gleamed under fluorescent lights. Drugs in vacuum-sealed packages. Counterfeit designer goods worth millions. And in the center, Choi Tae-hyun giving orders in 3 languages, every inch the crime lord he was. He saw her freeze in the doorway. For a moment, something like regret crossed his face. Then it hardened into resolve. He walked to her calmly, deliberately. His men watched with predatory interest. This is who I am, Taehyun said quietly. I won't apologize. I won't lie. And I'll never let this world touch you, Chioma. But you need to decide if you can accept it. She should have run. Every rational cell in her body screamed to run. But as she looked at this dangerous, honest, devastating man, all she could think was, he'd never once made her feel invisible. Why me? Her voice cracked. Why this whole arrangement? Taehyun's jaw tightened. Sarah, my ex-fiancé, chose my rival, the Iron Serpent boss, because he offered her more power. She didn't just leave. She sold syndicate secrets that got 12 of my men killed. His hands clenched. When I saw you delete those photos of my meeting instead of selling them to tabloids, when I watched you defend that hotel employee from an abusive customer, when you slapped me and didn't beg forgiveness, I saw someone who fights with honor in a dishonorable world. I wanted that. Needed it. The confession cracked something open between them. If you're enjoying this story of dangerous obsession and forbidden chemistry, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling us what Chioma should do. Would you stay or run? The weeks that followed blurred the lines between performance and reality. Chioma designed in Taehyun's penthouse while he handled territory disputes in the next room. He brought her Ethiopian coffee at 2 a.m., learning she preferred it to Korean varieties. She critiqued his tailoring, insisting his suits needed better Italian wool. They kissed, no audience, no cameras, just hunger and need and something terrifyingly real. But she also saw the duality. He tortured information from a rival's associate in the basement, then took her to dinner. He ordered a hit on a trader while helping her choose lace fabrics. The violence never touched her directly, but it surrounded her like smoke, invisible until you choked on it. Marcus Chen's downfall came swiftly. Lawsuits destroyed his credibility. Industry blacklisting ended his career. His investors pulled out overnight. Chioma watched it happen with vindication and growing unease. Taehyun's efficiency was terrifying. "Does it bother you?" he asked one night, reading her too well. "What I do?" Chioma answered honestly. "Yes. But what bothers me more is that I'm starting to understand why you do it. That I'm becoming complicit. That terrifies me." He kissed her forehead, a gesture so tender it hurt. "You're not complicit. You're protected. There's a difference." But was there? The illusion shattered at a neutral ground meeting with the Shanghai Triad and Iron Serpents. Taehyun insisted Chioma attend, dressing her in a crimson gown that commanded attention. She felt powerful walking into that room of dangerous men. Until the Triad leader asked who she was. "A friend," Taehyun responded coolly. "She's not part of this. Not his fiancée. Not his partner. A friend." Chioma's blood turned to ice. She understood the strategy. Keeping her separate protected her from becoming a target. But it felt exactly like Marcus presenting her work as his own. Like being erased. Like invisibility all over again. After the meeting, she said nothing during the car ride home. Taehyun's silence was equally loaded. Back at the penthouse, the explosion finally came. "You made me visible, then erased me when it mattered." Chioma's voice shook with rage and hurt. "I kept you alive," Taehyun countered, his control cracking. "Those men would have used you against me. You made me feel like your dirty secret. You're my only clean thing in a filthy world." The raw confession hung between them. "I won't apologize for protecting you. I don't need protection. I need respect." Chioma started packing. "I survived being invisible before you. I'll survive it again." Taehyun watched her with that unreadable expression, the one that made him the silent dragon. "The 6 months aren't finished. They are for me." She walked out. He didn't stop her. 4 weeks of silence followed. Chioma threw herself into preparation for Seoul Fashion Week, her first major runway show. She booked models, secured the venue, worked until her fingers bled and her vision blurred. She didn't call. Neither did he. But she felt his absence like a wound that wouldn't heal. And in his penthouse, surrounded by her leftover fabric swatches and abandoned sketches, Taehyun realized he'd lost the only person who'd made him feel human. His men noticed the silent dragon had gone even quieter. More dangerous. Ghost, his enforcer, asked once if they should check on her. The look Taehyun gave him ended the conversation permanently. Seoul Fashion Week arrived with all its chaos and glory. Chioma stood backstage, heart hammering, as models prepared for her debut. The venue was packed, critics, buyers, influencers, everyone who mattered. This was her moment. Everything she'd worked for. Marcus Chen was notably absent, rumored to have fled to Europe in disgrace. She should have felt victorious. She felt hollow. Then, midway through the show, the back doors opened. Choi Taehyun walked in with 20 Silent Dragon Syndicate members, all in black suits, all visibly armed. The entire venue tensed. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Security started forward, then recognized who they were facing and froze. Taehyun walked to the front row, never taking his eyes off the runway. Off Chioma's designs. The models continued walking, professional despite the electric tension. Each piece Chioma had created told a story of invisibility transformed into power, and the audience saw it with new eyes now that the most dangerous man in Seoul claimed it. When the final model walked, Taehyun stood. The room went silent. Every eye turned to him. He looked directly at the backstage curtain where Chioma stood frozen, watching. His voice carried, cold and absolute, "That's my woman. The designer. Chioma Nwachukwu. Anyone who touches her, steals from her, or disrespects her answers to me. Personally." The syndicate members didn't move. Didn't blink. The threat was crystal clear. Chioma's heart stopped. Then restarted at triple speed. She stepped onto the runway in her finale gown, midnight blue with gold attire patterns like constellations. The audience applauded, but she only saw him. Taehyun walked to her in front of everyone, cameras flashing, witnesses everywhere, and cupped her face. "I'm sorry I made you invisible," he said quietly, meant only for her ears but picked up by nearby microphones. "I won't do it again. You're mine, and I'm making sure the whole world knows it." "You just made me a target," Chioma whispered. His smile was dangerous, beautiful. "I made you untouchable. There's a difference." Before she could respond, he kissed her, claiming her in front of Seoul's elite and his entire criminal empire. When they broke apart, his forehead rested against hers. "I can't promise you safety. I can't promise you normal. But I promise